Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the special group review of Geek News Reviews and Opinions of Chappie. So first of all, I am your host, Adam Mickelson, and also known as Drac. Sitting right next to me is the Shadow Blazer himself. He is very much in the light and out of the shadows. We're very happy about that. And then you might also notice some familiar faces. Stephen Romney from Romney's Reviews.
Yep, you can't see me on this one. You can see my arm, but I'm over here.
And then what? Aldo?
Back from the dead?
It's
the raccoon god has answered our prayers.
Yes. Yes, Liam Neeson came down and said, "Release the Aldo."
And a flurry of raccoons came out with my body parts and put me together.
And made you the Raccoon Super Saiyan.
I was going to say Raccoon Super Saiyan God, but whatever.
There you go.
I saw the best raccoon coffee mug at my work. I should have bought it for you.
We need to get it to you. So this is actually... So one of the things I'm going to clarify right now, because this probably will go up first. So there will not be an episode tonight of Geek News Reviews and Opinions. Mainly because we're getting together for a new kind of show. And that will be coming up. We don't really have a name for it. I've been prototyping like Gaming with the Geeks kind of thing. So you guys will see that in a little bit. But before that, we did promise you guys a Chappie review. And, well, Google Hangouts had different intentions in mind.
Threw a temper tantrum, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. It was in the Target, and it saw the toy it wanted, and it didn't get it. So, first of all, we can honestly say, me and Alex obviously have seen Chappie, if you guys have seen our review. Romney has seen it and done a very awesome review of it. But we have a little bit of a problem. Because Aldo has not seen it.
No.
So would you say that he's making fun of Daddy?
He's making fun of Daddy.
Why are you making fun of Daddy? Why are you making fun of Daddy? You don't make fun of Daddy!
References I don't understand!
So, at this point, let's just kind of give a little bit of a group review on, since Romney has covered it, we're going to approach this from the angle of, Aldo hasn't seen it, so we're going to convince him to see Chappie.
Yeah, 3 happy Chappies who've seen Chappie wanting to convince someone to see Chappie.
My name's Tippy. I love referencing Chappie because all of his stuff is just way out of there. So let's just kind of go into the good aspects of it that we loved. One of the things that I like to bring up is that at the very end, it really does make you think. It makes you kind of rethink the ideas that like Asimov has put into motion.
Yeah.
Especially with the ending. Do we want to spoil the ending? Or
let's kind of limit it, but most I can say about the ending is that I also kind of found it kind of creepy and a little bit unsatisfying, at least in my opinion, because compared to a film like District 9, where it does have like a conclusion but that open-ended, but it still feels satisfying.
Yeah. With
Chappie, especially after the huge major things that happened in the ending, I understand like leaving it open-ended, leaving it asking questions. It just felt like it's had a stopping point at kind of the wrong place. Yeah. Especially since it opens with sort of a pseudo-documentary style, much like District 9. If they had kind of bookended with that sort of format, it probably would have worked better.
I found that a little weird, too. Like, Interstellar did it, too.
Yeah, but at least Interstellar actually bookends it by the end of the film.
Yes, and Chappie leaves it very open-ended. But overall, one of the things that people might think is that this is like a new homage to Short Circuit. In some ways it is.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's kind of like that Blanca. Apparently we're being attacked by kaiju today.
No, yes, we are being attacked by kaiju, and that's just my little brother upstairs. So, the other thing also is that, and me and Alex actually made the joke of this, I don't know if you saw our review of it, but this is basically what the RoboCop movie should have been as far as violence. Because holy crap.
Yeah.
So it was very, very much Verhoeven. And
the main thing I was going to say before the sound was that it's like Blomkamp took the kind of the psychological, sociological questions that were proposed in Short Circuit 2.
Yeah.
Like, all that was missing was some sort of scene with Chappie going into a church trying to ask questions of what it means to live. It's like Blomkamp took that, and then it's like, okay, well, let's take those aspects and make that into a film. Let's not have any of the campy stuff. Let's just actually take the aspects of somewhat, like, kind of what makes something alive, basically, and make that a film. Yeah. Especially, and the thing I like is that it poses the kind of nature, it takes the nature out of the nature versus nurture argument, because you have something that's growing and learning in a really, really bad environment.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the deepest that it ever got was probably when the creator would come in and try and get him to do art and things like that. So they didn't have those profound moments where, Chappie is stepping into a church and asking legitimate questions. He is figuring out his existence, but his answers are a little more warped than you might think. Mm-hmm. So at this point, is there anything really bad that we have to say about Chappie? I actually think, I don't think the ending is bad. It makes you question. But, man, did I walk away just kind of a little bit disturbed on how that ended. Overall, I think you had some complaints on it. Like, the audio design was a little off for you.
I don't think it was the audio design that bothered me.
I can't remember what it was.
I'm trying to think back to some of my gripes. Some that I can't think of them right now.
One of the things that obviously was a little bit more disturbing was the he wants to bring Mommy back.
Yeah,
and his answer to it, and
it's not necessarily to the level of Norman Bates, but it very easily could have been.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, like the aspects that kind of came to my mind when that happens, like Lawnmower Man and stuff like that, where you're downloading a digital consciousness and putting it into a new body, so to speak. Very Ghost in the Shell-esque, actually.
Yeah. Actually, my first thought of that was an episode of Futurama.
I didn't even think about that one.
They download the celebrities.
But it's like, don't date robots.
Yeah, and he's dating Lucy Liu.
The Lucy Liu bot.
And that actually got really existential at one point towards the end of the episode. And he's like, was I really dating Lucy Liu? And she's like, no.
Yes.
But I am my own thing now. And it was,
or the other thing was like the 30s movie where the guy downloaded Marilyn Monroe and just and died making out with her. Goodbye. The don't date robots.
Yeah.
And of course we had to have Bender step in with, hey, there's no problem with robosexuals.
Yeah.
I missed this episode. I'm so sad to have missed it.
But yeah, though Chappie doesn't necessarily get that zany. We don't want to give that impression.
No.
Right.
No, it gets existential more towards the end, where Chappie's trying to figure things out for himself.
Yeah, because the way it starts, at least when we kind of get to the inciting incident of the creation of Chappie, you kind of see the world almost kind of like a child actually would, in an unfamiliar place, and you're not sure what's going on. I especially like the scene where he turns on the TV and He-Man is playing.
And he raises his hand, That was actually that was good emphasis on the fact that he had the mind of roughly a toddler or an infant.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, was like he was very susceptible to manipulation, obviously, because we see that with Daddy. Mm-hmm. There's actually a scene where Daddy actually says that in order to get money, they need to steal cars. And the reason that they steal cars is because they stole from Daddy. They stole the car. Oh. So at that point, that's why I did why do you steal from Daddy? Because there's literally like a bunch of points where he goes GTA on anybody. It's like, why you steal from Daddy? You no steal! And then he drives off with the car.
So my question is Chappie, is he the only robot? Or is he like a prototype? Or is he one of many? Kind of like an iRobot.
He's basically a decommission. It's a lot like Short Circuit, where it's basically part of a set of police robots.
Okay.
And it was like damaged in a exercise.
It literally took like a... I don't think this is spoiling because you see it like fairly early.
Yeah, it's in the beginning.
He literally took like a rocket launcher to the chest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a case. It's a robot that was going to be destroyed. That the scientist played by Dev Patel decided, okay, well, we've got this stuck here. It's going to be destroyed anyway, and so he takes it and decides to test out the software, and then
gets abducted
by a pair of criminals.
Yes, who eventually become Mommy and Daddy to Chappie.
Yeah, because the idea is that they want him to make a police robot. Basically, they want to get a remote that's basically a kill switch, but then they basically want him to take a police robot and make it so that it can help them with a heist.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's why they try to justify the weird thinking to Chappie, because then at that point it's not hard to explain to a kid why you're doing these horrible things, because they're not horrible.
Well, yeah, and then it kind of goes into that whole idea of exploring kind of like you have the scientist who's trying to kind of the moral center, trying to basically create an actual artificial intelligence that's noble, that's good, and even trying to kind of sway him away from it. But then you've got the negative environments and just some of the evil stuff that Daddy does. I know they actually have a name. I think like the Daddy is like big, like he's called Ninja because that's his nickname.
Yeah, that's his name, but Chappie calls him Daddy.
Yeah, Chappie calls him Daddy. Like you've got Ninja and Yolandi; those are the two main criminals. There's a third guy, but the third guy.
American.
That's what he's called.
He's like Hispanic, and this
the
is
idea
all
is he
based
wants-
in like Australia or something like that.
Well, it's based in South Africa.
South
The idea is
Africa.
he was trying to get money so he can go back to America.
Yes.
What is up with Blankoff in Africa?
It's because he's from South Africa.
Oh,
So
that makes sense. Okay.
so at that point, I mean, we really covered a lot of points of Chappie. I really do think, like, as far as a Neil Blomkamp film, this is actually my first. I never saw District 9.
My first as well.
Yeah, between the three, I've actually seen all three of the films he's made so far, and I would definitely put Chappie in my top two. It pretty much would go District 9, and then Chappie is a very close second.
Yeah.
Because with Chappie, he did kind of what he didn't do in Elysium, where he, instead of trying to comment on so many different things like he did in Elysium, where he's trying to comment on healthcare, on immigration, on the poverty gap and everything, here he kept it simple. He took one basic story of kind of basically artificial intelligence and just the ramifications of it, and made that his story. And I think that was more or less the strength of it, is that because with District 9, it's the same thing. What if you take someone who's part of the government that is oppressive, but then put him in a situation of being oppressed, where he's slowly turning into the very aliens that are currently being oppressed in South Africa. And that's that simple story of kind of someone being knocked off their ivory tower, basically.
And actually, now that I remember, one of the gripes you had towards it in our review was Sigourney Weaver's character.
Yeah.
Because she was very lightly written. I mean, there's actually a point where Hugh Jackman just had, like, the Hugh Jackman character. It's so weird seeing Hugh Jackman as a villain. It's awesome, but and actually, why didn't we not make the Metal Gear reference? Because there totally is a Metal Gear.
I mean, I've said it in the end of my review.
Yes.
Arid, Kojima, get Blomkamp. I mean, he had a freaking Metal Gear in this movie.
Yes, he did.
He is the perfect director. The Sony distributes his film. You can make the phone call.
Yeah, the robot that Hugh Jackman has that's competing with the Chappie model is a Metal Gear, basically. And so at that point, it's so funny because at the beginning of the film, he has no sway over Sigourney Weaver's character. And then at the end, it really isn't even explained, but he has sway over her now. And
well, that's mainly because, well, for lack of a better term, crap has hit the fan at that point.
Yeah, so at that point, I mean, we could kind of give that to Sigourney, but it was like, this isn't explained that well.
And the problem was, there's that earlier scene where he starts kind of messing with Dev Patel's character, and he slams him down onto a desk, and this is in the middle of his office, in the middle of the workday, and he pulls out a gun, and he pretty much dry fires the gun to it. He clicks the trigger.
And so at that point, you kind of look at Sigourney Weaver, because she's like the manager.
Yeah.
You're like, why is he still working there? That would get his ass fired.
Well, yeah, and with Hugh Jackman's character, it's very much just a case of, it's just like, I am the villain.
Yeah, it totally is, man. All he needed was a mustache so he could twirl it.
I love the film score. I loved Hans Zimmer's music in this.
Yes.
But I will admit, there are the points where the brooding, dark music plays over Hugh Jackman's character, really hammering in that he's the bad guy.
Yes. And actually, now that I think about it, another Metal Gear reference is the monitors that he uses to... what was it called? The Moose or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was called the Moose.
The Moose. All of them were Metal Gear Solid 4-like screens. It was kind of hilarious. All orange screens. And here's the funny part. He wasn't even looking at the screens. He had like a helmet over him for brain reception. So it was like, wow. They just have to ham in the Metal Gear references.
Yeah, just watch maybe all of Neil Blomkamp's, because this is an interesting factoid, but it actually because I think Neil Blomkamp's been doing a lot of this video game almost centric stuff, because maybe he wants to make a video game movie, because District 9 was supposed to be the Halo movie before funding got cut.
Yes.
What if this is like his audition to direct the next video game movie? Like the second somebody goes,
at this point, he'd have me sold.
Yeah,
by all means.
Especially if
I mean, at this point, it's either him or Bull or Paul W.S. Anderson. And I don't have any major problems with Paul Anderson, but Uwe Boll, I have every problem with.
Yeah, it's so hard not to swear, because there's so many jokes that you can make with his name.
Yes.
Like how his films are... No, can't say it.
We bullshit?
Yeah.
It's alright. We have Aldo to curse for us.
I have no moral ground.
Well, it's not so much a moral ground. I didn't know if we were going by FCC standards or not.
Don't worry about it.
So yeah, basically his film, all of Uwe Boll's films are bullshit.
They really are.
So
there's a reason that the Nostalgia Critic, Spoonie, and Linkara get together just to review those films. Alright? Because they are all absolute bullshit, and they do need to have that moment of, why does this guy keep getting money? And that's kind of an interesting point to bring up. If I had a choice between Uwe Boll and Neil Blomkamp, I wouldn't have to think twice. Because at least in
bet on the South African.
Exactly. And at that point, he can make Metal Gear. I don't care. He can make Zone of the Enders, and I'd probably be fine with it.
Yeah.
So at that point, Hideo Kojima, if you watch, you have an idea.
Yeah. A.V. Arid, I know you're the main producer. Call Blomkamp. You work at Sony. You're distributing his films. Well, not actually, but Sony's distributing his. You could probably get the guy's number.
And I don't think he would tell you no at this point. Because, he does do a lot of kind of opening up, I want to do a video game movie. Let's just hope he doesn't do, like, Doom or something like that. We don't need another Doom.
Well, let's not forget that in District 9, he did have that cover-based part where you have enemies coming in through all the doors. Yeah. And everybody's hiding behind the chest-high
walls.
Yes.
Again, because it was initially supposed to be a Halo movie, they had everything set up, but then Microsoft, you know what, we want more money. And literally, I'm guessing it's because Peter Jackson is good friends with him. It's like, okay, well, this was supposed to be your big debut. We're sorry it didn't work out. Let me fund the project you want to make, and thus, District 9.
Well, it was also that Microsoft just tried to get too much involved with the film, and I know Neil didn't like that.
Yeah.
So, because they wanted, like, references to to newer games and things like that.
So yeah, basically, Blomkamp, good for Metal Gear. I probably would want to see him to do Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Definitely. Is there a film in the works?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is one in the works.
I would probably want him to touch Mass Effect.
It's in development.
And if you wanted to dig into the Microsoft library, I don't know why I'm so delayed in my quotations.
Air quotes.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing him do a Gears of War movie.
Yeah, I don't want to limit him to just post-apocalyptic stuff.
But that's kind of, at least from what I've seen, that's kind of what he does best.
Yeah, because I could honestly, if he wanted to take a video game adaptation, I wouldn't mind. For me, the sky's the limit. He could do fantasy elements just as much as sci-fi, as far as I'm concerned, because he has that nice, delicate balance between practical effects and
I'm almost curious
CG effects.
I'm almost curious what would happen if they tried having him direct an American-produced Attack on Titan movie. That would probably be an interesting thing to see.
You know what? And Aldo might have to smack me around for this, but if he was doing Ghost in the Shell, I probably wouldn't hate it.
Yes, I was going to agree with you on that. I agree with you on that one. If you had mentioned any fantasy anime, I probably would have slapped you, because unlike you, I don't have that confidence yet because I have not seen him do any fantasy thing.
Yeah, I want to see him do fantasy.
But that's why I think something like Attack on Titan would work, because it at least has that same kind of grittier tone that it's known for.
It does have a post-apocalyptic feel, minus in the past, not in the future. Well, kind of, because you have the 3D gear. I don't know.
And at that point, here's the guarantee. If he was doing Ghost in the Shell, we probably wouldn't have the whole controversy of ScarJo.
So yeah, DreamWorks, fire Rupert Sanders, bring in Neil Blomkamp.
Which will probably not happen.
No.
No, because Sony doesn't listen to us. They should.
Well, that one's not Sony. DreamWorks is the one producing Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, that's right.
All because Spielberg wanted to do it.
And now he's not even doing it.
Why?
So point being...
We've diverted enough. So just kind of final analysis. I still think that people should see Chappie. I still think people should. I don't know whether or not 3D would be the way to go, but
I would probably offered in 3D.
No, but I would pay IMAX prices for it because it's that good. At this point, I guess the real question is: have we convinced you to go see Chappie yet?
No, I'm still on the fence.
All right.
You guys have actually moved me to the fence when I was in the field of no.
Yes.
So I wouldn't say you guys have quite convinced me, but if I were to go see a movie, this is definitely a dollar movie for me at this point.
Yeah.
Where it was a red box previously.
Yeah, so at that point, guys, you guys need to go see Chappie, because, any Isaac Asimov fans are going to love this, the premise of this film.
Isaac Asimov, Philip K. Dick, Richard Matheson. If you're a fan of, the classic sci-fi stuff, like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, or... Well...
And here's another thing, too. In the comments below, put in film suggestions you'd like to see Neil Blomkamp do, because we've only put in a few, but there's tons of anime-based stuff. Keshern could be done by him.
Yeah.
So we'd like to hear your input on
anime, video games. If there's any sci-fi books you think that he could probably do a good job with.
Yeah. So at that point, we want to hear you guys comments in the boxes below, obviously. And I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this review of Chappie. And then we will see you guys in a little bit.